Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Today is the second lesson of Chapter 4. We're looking for a pattern in integer exponents. Here we go. Number 1 is your rule when dealing with a negative exponent. Any number except 0 with a negative exponent equals its reciprocal. Keyword reciprocal is one of your vocab words from early on when we were dividing fractions with the opposite exponent. A here shows you the rule algebraically, and I think we need to start getting used to seeing this because you are going to see rules expressed more with this format as opposed to words. Basically, the one I circled in green here means the exact same thing as the words, but it is using algebra expressions. So here we go. It is saying that any number x to the negative power, so negative n, so any number, this would be our base, x to a negative power n, is equal to 1 over the base to the power of n. Now, as you'll notice, we took the base, we flipped it, we did the reciprocal, we put it on the bottom, so we put it over top of, or we put it underneath 1, and then the exponent, which was a negative at one point, now has become a positive. So, a negative exponent means you flip it, you change the exponent to a positive, and you're good to go. It happens, or it's good for any number except for when your base is 0. So when x does not, it does not work for the number 0. If the number is 0, you cannot do that, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. You cannot do the rule that we discussed. Let's see it in action here. You have a number such as 10 to the third. We know that 10 to the third is 10 times 10 times 10. And your final answer there is going to be 1,000. Continuing our pattern, 10 to the second is 10 times 10. And we know the answer to that is 100. Next, 10 to the first is just a 10. The answer to the number 10 is the number 10. 10 to the 0, we're going to talk about this in a couple of minutes on the video. But 10 to the 0, if you continue to follow the pattern of divide by 10, divide by 10, and if we're going to divide by 10 to get this answer here, we're dividing 10 by 10, we're going to get 1. So again, we're going to talk about that one in a second. I want to go to a negative exponent, so we've got 10 to the negative first. So we follow our rule above. We have 1 over 10 now to the first because the exponent now becomes positive, and that equals 0.1. So 1 divided by 10 is equal to 1/10. 10 to the negative second power equals 1 over 10 to the second, which equals 1 over 10 times 10, which equals 1 over 100. Okay, which equals 0.01 if we're going to convert it to a decimal, and so on and so forth. So hopefully you're seeing the pattern here that every time you decrease an exponent, you divide by 10. Every time you increase an exponent, in this case with a base 10, you're going to multiply by 10. Number 2, we ran out of room here on number 2, so I'm just going to do a little arrow here. We got 5 to the negative third. We're going to express that as 1 over 5. We're going to make the exponent positive to the third. 1 over 5 times 5 times 5, if I'm going to write it out the long way, and it equals 1 over 125. That's how we're going to express that answer. Number 3, same situation. We've got negative 5 to the negative third. So we now have 1 over negative 5. The base doesn't change anything, but the exponent now becomes a positive because we flipped it and put it on the bottom of the fraction. We got 1 times negative 5 times negative 5 times negative 5, which equals 1 over, this is 25, and we're going to multiply it by a negative 5. So it's going to be 1 over negative 125 for our final answer. Again, if I'm going really fast, you always have a chance to pause, slow down, rewind, whatever might be the case. A little bit of a different scenario here. We have negative 5 to the negative third. So our problem is going to still be a negative. We're going to take our negative 5 to the third, and we are going to put it on the bottom of the fraction, and the exponent now becomes a positive. Let's not deal with this negative until the very end. It just simply means the opposite of what we come up with. We've got 1 times negative 5, because the third power is saying we need to multiply negative 5 by itself 3 times. Negative 5 equals, like we set up here, same problem at this point, 1 over negative 1/25. However, we still have this negative in front of it, so it's going to be negative over negative 1/25, which is going to be a positive 1 over 1/25. We spend some more time in class discussing that, because I know it gets a little bit confusing with all of the negatives. And yet another one here for number 5. Problem. We have negative 5 to the negative third. This time the negative third is only applied to the 5. It is not applied to the negative. It's only applied to the 5. So our problem is negative, because this stays, we're going to deal with it at the end, 1 over 5 to the third, which equals negative 1 over 5 times 5 times 5, which equals 1 over, we can't lose our negative, over 1/25, and we're good to go. Keep the negative with it. It just simply means the opposite of what our answer would have been. Number 6 is dealing with the zero exponent. So another rule, this time written with words and numbers again. The zero power of any number except 0 equals 1. So if we have x to the power of 0, it equals 1, comma, if x does not equal 0. An equal sign with a slash through it means does not. So our example would be 4 to the power of 0. 4 to the power of 0 equals 1. 2,000 to the power of 0 equals 1. Anything to the power of 0 is equal to 1, just like we saw up in our example here with 10 to the power of 0. You're just following the pattern. Anything to the power of 0 equals 1, except for 0. In that case, it does not equal anything. And we'll talk about that again later on. Last problem. We're applying everything we now learned here. We're going to go through order of operations, or I'm going to run through the order of operations. I have got 5 minus, I'm going to do what's in parentheses first. 6 minus 4 is 2. Still going to be to the power of negative 3 plus negative 2 to the power of 0. I'm going to actually do this one right now, is going to be 1. 5 minus 2 to the power of negative 3. So it's going to be 1 over 2 to the third plus 1. We've got 5 minus 1 over 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. So we got 5 minus 1/8 plus 1. 5 minus 1/8 is 4 7/8 plus 1. 4 7/8 plus 1 gives us an answer of 5 7. I don't want to make that look like power. We got an answer of 5 7/8 is our final, and it's a mixed number, so we're good to go. Good luck on your assignment, or good luck on watching, good luck on your explaining everything.